Today it is evident that climate change is a phenomenon that we can no longer deny. Human-induced climate change has triggered changes in extreme weather and climate events like excessively high temperatures, severe floods, and droughts. The changes in weather affect human population in various ways. Today I'm going to discuss that climate change negatively affects lives, health, and livelihoods of people around the globe. Climate change threatens our agriculture and food security, negatively affects our health, and damages our infrastructure. For my first claim, the effects of climate change is a major threat to agriculture and food security. For my first point, in one study done by Hunger Report states that in 2005 to 2011, Uganda suffered a 10% reduction in water availability due to the changing rainfall pattern, which resulted in a loss in crop income of almost 20% for the poorest households. This shows that people are dependent on water to survive and how poverty is greatly affected by climate change. In my next point, in the article by Bread of the World Institute states that due to severe drought in 2015 to 2016, Southern Africa has suffered substantial losses of livestock and noticeable loss of 9 million tons of crop production. Zimbabwe estimated that the drought would put 4.1 million people in need of health and nutrition assistance. This shows the detrimental effects that climate change has on agriculture input and food security, in which people in developing countries for their health that are dependent for their health and nutrition. And my last point, the projections by Hunger Report show that climate change will increase stunting by 30 to 50% by 2050. Stunting is a result of malnutrition in early childhood before age 2. This causes lifelong irreversible health problems and developmental delays. The lack of proper nutrition caused by climate change is affecting the development and health of younger generations in our future. Climate change overall harmfully affects agriculture production and increases problems in food insecurity, which leads to a negative future for our health in developing countries. For my second claim, extreme weather damages our infrastructure and threatens our livelihoods. Warmer weather, flooding, and other extreme events damage our infrastructure and put heavy burdens on people and displace them from their homes. For example, Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Irma severely crippled Puerto Rico's infrastructure. Jeff Weber, a meteorologist, voices the devastation in Puerto Rico. Whole community roofs were torn off, second floors of houses were ripped apart, and water flooded the streets. Associated Press reports that the storm knocked out 80% of the island's power and transmission lines, and Moody Analytics financial service firm estimates that the storm cost Puerto Rico $45 billion to $90 billion to rebuild. This shows the devastation of extreme weather events and from destroyed homes people used to live in and the minimal foundation they're left to survive with. The damages of infrastructure are costly and lead to economic challenges. Extreme weather events, for my second point, extreme weather events displace people from their homes. For example, Hurricane Harvey flooded Houston, Texas in over 4 feet of rain in a matter of days. This left 30,000 people temporarily homeless and tens of thousands without electrical power. This shows the growing impact of climate change and how it increases the displacement of people from their homes to find safety. Climate change is increasing the power of extreme weather and causing major damages to infrastructure, the economy, and people's livelihoods. And my last claim, the warming of the earth is causing health-related issues. The warmer conditions have led to increased heat waves, especially in urban environments. A study done by Health Commonwealth Scientific states the death rate of people over 65 years old in Australian capital cities could increase by a factor of 2 times by the mid-century in response to climate change. This shows that there's a greater number in mortality rates because climate change has made it less suitable to survive. In my second point, the heating of the planet is increasing asthma and allergy-related issues. In an article from People of the Planet states that warmer conditions increase the production of allergens and may have a considerable effect on asthma and allergic respiratory diseases. Increasing concentrations of grass pollen led to more frequent ambulance calls due to asthma symptoms. And pollen levels have also been linked to hospital visits with hay fever symptoms. This shows that the warming of the earth is leading to more medical and health problems down the road. In conclusion, climate change is largely affecting the human population, and from extreme weather events to high temperatures, people's lives are threatened, their health and nutrition suffer, and their lives are vulnerable. Thank you for listening.
All right. I didn't think the proposition was very clear at the beginning of the speech. You've got basically an argument about climate change, and then there are like a dozen things that you attribute climate change to being a cause for, and that's just confusing. It's a long laundry list of potential issues without having a specific claim. I think that's a little bit problematic. That becomes especially problematic on the first and second points, which presuppose that climate change produces these harms without demonstrating it. On the first and second point, you do give us a lot of information about the dangers of a lack of access to water because of droughts and a lot of problems that come from extreme weather. The demonstration that the drought is a result of climate change is something that is missing here. It's a presupposition that is caused by climate change, and that if that's the argument that it's a cause-effect relationship, then we need to have some evidence on the causality there. The same thing is true with the extreme weather. You've got descriptions of all the horrible things that happen when there is extreme weather, but there's been extreme weather for centuries that is not necessarily associated with climate change. How can you demonstrate that what happened in Hurricane Maria, what happened in Puerto Rico is a result of climate change? What evidence is there that indicates that the severity of the hurricane was a result or a consequence of changes in weather patterns in the Caribbean? And the same thing is true with the events in Houston. There's a presupposition, an underlying assumption here that that's what the cause is, and that's where your argument is. There's no dispute that what happened in Puerto Rico was devastating. There's no dispute that people were displaced because of Hurricane Harvey in the Houston situation. So that's not controversial. The controversial part is, was it made worse because of climate change? And that's where there's some evidence missing. On the third point, that's where you actually have some information that relates specifically to changing in climate having an impact on people directly. The warmer atmosphere, which I still think you need to develop a little bit of proof for, but at least it explains why it is having an effect on people who are older. And then the notion that there is an impact on pollens and allergens as a consequences of changing temperatures. Again, I think you need a little bit more information demonstrating that the climate has changed because of the human activities that we're talking about. Climate alters for all kinds of reasons, but the controversial part is that it's human activity that is producing these results, and that's where I think there needs to be a little bit more development. Like I said, I thought it was a little bit better developed on that third point than it was on the first two. You basically read the whole time. You never look at the audience. I think that undermines your credibility quite a bit. The time was used appropriately. I thought your summary was a little bit better than what you had at the beginning of the speech, which I didn't think really set up what the contents was going to be. All right, thank you.